Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about one of the holy grails of the NES, trying to get the Zapper gun to work on these new digital TVs. Let's see if this solution is actually legit. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the light gun, that was like the peripheral to have in the 80s and 90s. When I was a kid, when you had an NES, you had to have the Zapper, okay? It was so cool. It was a futuristic, laser looking gun, and it had this technology that was just beyond its time. It was able to, capture light and turning a game into almost real life. It was better than virtual reality. It was, it was the first real sensation of being part of the game. But that was all lost when we moved to LCDs. So let's get into some of the details of how the Zapper actually works, because this is pretty cool if you've never known how exactly this thing does what it does. You see, so the NES basically looked for the first white box, but at a specific time, exactly 16 milliseconds. So once it saw the black screen, it was timed 16 milliseconds later to look for a white square. And if it saw the black screen, then the white square, then it knew that there was a hit and it would register. So the reason it worked is because the NES was timed and hard-coded to look for that 16 millisecond. And the screen was a CRT. It took 16 milliseconds to redraw the next screen. So on the first frame, you'd see a black screen. In the second screen, you would see a white square. Okay? That's how it knew that you registered a hit. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so now that you know how it works on the CRT, why in the world does it not work on our new displays? A couple of reasons. Let's break it down. First of all, these digital screens are not able to process the output of the NES fast enough. They're just not. I don't care what you got, Sony, Samsung, it doesn't matter, okay? The problem is they buffer the entire frame. They don't draw it line by line like a CRT does. So they have to buffer the entire frame, upscale it to the right resolution. If you're outputting HDMI, you're going to be putting out 1080, and the NES is only putting out 256 by 240, which we call 240p. So the time it takes to buffer that entire frame, upscale it, redraw it, you're already past the 16 milliseconds. So by the time you pull the trigger, it's too late. The frame is already too slow. And there's nothing for the NES to capture. It's already tried to capture it long before the screen ever appeared. That's the problem. So, well, how do you fix this then? Well, we know how it works. We know what the problem is. So there's really only two ways that I'm aware of. If you guys know of a better way to fix this problem, let me know, okay? The problem is that the NES is looking for a black screen, 16 milliseconds later, a white box, okay? So there's two ways to fix this. One, you can hack the ROM, okay? Go hack Duck Hunt or one of the other shooting games. You can hack it and delay the code, the part of the code that actually detects that white square, and delay it from 16 milliseconds to a range that'll work on your TV. So make it work between, 16 milliseconds and 70. And if it sees a white box in that time frame, then it should work. But hopefully you don't break anything else if you do that. Number two, you could hack your NES and just slow it down. Underclock the CPU, right? It's looking 16 milliseconds later. Just slow it down. That way the detection, is going to be in that desired range of 60 to 70 milliseconds. So, if that sounds so easy, has this ever been done before? Well, it's been tried many times, honestly, and a few have made it to work in a small degree, but it's always some kind of very difficult Arduino and rewiring or hacking of the hardware of the Zapper, complete hardware rebuild, and it never gets commercially produced, supported, and just not easily available to the public until now. So I came across this article. I was reading it in ComicBook. They also have the article in Nintendo Life. I'll put the article links. It says Hyperkin producing new NES compatible light gun that works on high definition TVs. Wow. I'm reading this thing thinking, what? Are you serious? Like Hyperkin, the third-party Hyperkin that came with the Retron? So anyway, reading through the article, it says you can play games such as Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley. Okay, specifically those games are listed. I thought that was actually pretty cool, because you can't get it to work with these new tangled televisions, which we talked about earlier, and now you know the reasons why. Okay, so if you keep reading in the article, they give a little bit more details. Check this out. So Hyperkin is not going to be using the Zapper. They're going to be using a new device, and they're calling it the Hyper Blaster HD. Okay, so it is compatible with the classic NES, and it allows you to play Duck Hunt. So they do specify that game. That's pretty cool. So let's scroll down. There's a lot more details to get into. So they're really pushing this thing. They're really selling it. They're calling it the first ever commercially produced solution, which is true. You know, they've all been hardware hacks up until now. You know, this is the first one that's actually done by a third-party vendor. So basically what it does is it reads signals much better than the original Zapper. So that gives us a little key into how it's going to work. So I think they're going to be changing, I don't know actually, they can't change the timing. You know, the timing is in the NES and in the game, so I don't, in the CRT, so I don't know. Anyway, so read down these 3 bullets. So you can play Duck Hunt on the NES with a light gun on an HDTV, original Duck Hunt cartridge, and NES required. It also includes the Hyper Blaster HD light gun, and it includes a Hyper Blaster HD adjustable, adapter to allow the HDTV compatibility. See, now that part, you know, that last part is what's really kind of getting me. So anyway, there's another article here. Hyperkin, you know, to reveal new NES light gun, which works on the HDTV. This is a Nintendo Life, and they kind of say pretty much the same thing. One of the most interesting things that they add is that they're going to be showcasing this during the CES International 2019, which is just next week. I believe it starts on the 12th, 13th. I got to look that up. So we'll see. Overall, this is great news. You know, I mean, Hyperkin, they've come out with a lot of products. They come out with the Retron series for NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and they've sold pretty good. A lot of people love them. They work well. You know, they have their little hiccups, of course, but overall the products are great. And you know, so I'm really excited that Hyperkin is the one that's doing it, but I do have my concerns. First of all, you know, what is this new gun going to look like? We're all attached to our Zapper, and the ability to actually play with the Zapper, the click of the Zapper, the feel, the weight. You know, it's the original. You just can't change that. It's a piece of history. So I'm curious what this gun is going to look like, how much it's going to cost. Of course, that's a big, you know, question mark. You know, does it work with all NES Zapper games? They mentioned Duck Hunt, they mentioned Hogan's Alley, but they don't really mention anything else. It'd be more exciting if they said, and we'll play with all Zapper games. You know, then it'd be really exciting. And of course, how reliable is this thing? You know, did they not mention the other games because it doesn't work? You know, or is there other issues, or we don't know. So I don't know. Let me know what your concerns are if you actually plan on getting one, guys, because I'm really, I don't know, I'm a little leery, so I'd really be interested in see what you guys say in the comments. You know, and as always, thank you so much for joining me. You know, I'm always humbled by the fact that you guys take the time out to actually watch these videos, so I just want to say thanks again. Anyway, I'll see you next week Thursday, guys.